How did your great-grandparents keep things hot and keep things cold? Well, I've already done a standalone video on this old Stanley, and probably should have updated it when Stanley was, really trendy. But this old Stanley was from the early 20th century, and what's really cool about this one is it's heavy, it does its job, it keeps things really hot, keeps things really cold. I've taken this to deer camp when it was really cold weather here in Ohio, and by the end of the day, it's still pretty hot on the inside. The problem with it is it weighs a ton. It's insanely heavy, but it has a large volume and it does its job. I just got this one in the spring of 2024, and this was made in around 1916. The first patented date is 1914 on this thing. Both of these two carry a couple similarities. First of all, there's the outer shell, and then it has a liner, something to help insulate it, and then the other is the vessel itself. This is glass and this one's ceramic. Now, the reason why Stanley was, shooting off is because of the charcoal liner that they used for the inside to help insulate. Not only did a really good job of insulating, but it also protected the ceramic bottle. This glass bottle, these things have a tendency to break. So if you do find one of these, make sure to check and see if there's any cracks or any other issues, because the glass bottle break-in in these things is very common. Now, this one didn't necessarily really have a charcoal liner. Instead, it kind of uses the vacuum bottle that we have today, where you have an air that's really the insulator. So this one certainly does a little bit better job, but it's a lot heavier, like I said. But this is actually the star of the show of today's video. This is the pack basket. Now, we had refrigerators even in the early 20th century. You would have an ice block, you'd have an iceman come around, kind of like a milkman, and you'd either buy ice from the iceman or you'd go to the store and pick up your ice, but they'd have trucks that would come around, sell you a chunk of ice, and you would take that in and you'd put it in your refrigerator, right, to keep things cold. Things were so much simpler back then, weren't they? Well, the pack basket is a mobile refrigerator. You still had a place to put the ice to keep things cold. You could also line it with ice and everything else, but that's only going to get you so far, right? So how does something like this, a wicker picnic basket, keep things cold? Well, it may look like a traditional picnic basket from the outside, but on the inside it has a lot of secrets that both of these also carry. However, different materials. Now, this particular model is from the 1920s. They made a couple that were really long and skinny that could be on the running board of your old Model T or Model A or something like that when you're going on your picnics. That way you're not using valuable space inside your car or maybe in your trunk. They also made ones that were a little bit bigger, like just in general size bigger, and ones that are about smaller, half size. This is just your standard picnic basket size, and probably the most common, to be honest. If you find one that's really long and skinny for the sideboard of a car, those ones are pretty uncommon. They're pretty scarce. You can probably make some pretty good money off of it to the car collectors out there. But if we take a look at it, it is just standard wicker, right? We've got a wood bottom, we've got a wood top, we've got the classic wood handles, and we got the lids that open and close. Now, what's really cool is oftentimes these picnic baskets, one size would be completely attached, and you'd only be able to open up the one, and then you reach in and get whatever you want, right? Well, if we take a look at this and we open it up, it comes completely off. And that's pretty nice. We can see right off the bat that this is tin. This is not galvanized steel. So we know this is also an earlier model of these picnic baskets. Later on, they would use galvanized steel. But this is tin, and we see the rivets and the nails that are put inside. We also see the felt wool batting all around the edges. Now, I was a little concerned about this when I first got it, because I was like, man, is that asbestos? Because they use asbestos back then to help insulate things and, for fire protection. So it was common to use asbestos. But I know for a fact that this is just wool felt batting because of the advertisements that I found. So I'm always hesitant about these older things that are insulated in one way or the other. Because of that, I'm fairly confident with this one. I'm pretty safe. Now, that being said, they did use asbestos in these baskets. The asbestos was used as the insulator between the metal and the wood. So you actually had asbestos inside here to keep everything insulated. So if we take that off to the side and we look inside here, we see the well, the main compartment, right? So you have this section here, and this actually comes out. This is what you're going to use to put your ice in. You've got your tin-lined container. Sometimes if you find them, they're going to be the galvanized steel. This is tin. And you have this little metal bar, which is actually a screw, which kind of surprised me, seeing this square nut here. But this is what your lid is going to rest on so it doesn't cave in. So we have that. Now, if we were to take this apart and take off the wicker and in between the metal here, you would find asbestos lining. If I take out that, now these come in a couple different sizes from what I've seen of other extant examples of the Hawkeye baskets. This opens up so you can put your ice in there to help keep your things cold. Now, I used cubed ice when I used this a couple weeks ago when I was at actually the Gather thing in West Virginia just to try it out. It did all right for the first couple hours, but beyond that, it didn't keep anything really all that cold. But I didn't use ice inside this as it is. I just used this little container. So that could have been a problem. I also had a couple that are like gel ice packs that I put on there, but even then, that did not help a whole lot in keeping things safely cold. But if you're going out for a day, right? If you're just going out for the day, then this works out pretty well. Overnight, not so much. Even with these straps, if you were to keep these on there to try to keep pressure on there, that's really not going to help you a whole lot. These straps are mainly just to keep the basket lids from going up and down. These things are pretty heavy by themselves. So once you put them on, the weight of it actually keeps it down. The straps really don't do that much to keep the insulation in, to keep things cold or keep things hot. But this is a really, really cool early 20th century accessory for your camp kit, your picnic kit, or something like that. And it would do the job, like I said, just the following day you'd have to go to your local ice man and get some new ice to refill it. And for a weekend, honestly, this is probably just about the size that you need. At least what I generally take. I don't take a whole lot of cold items when I go camping. What I really was taking this for with the Gather thing was keeping some sodas, keeping my deer steak on, because I was frying up some deer steak, and some butter, and that's it. So there you go. That's how your great grandparents kept things cold and kept things hot. And I know there are other accessories that are out there in the early 20th century, but when you go camping, something like this, maybe a cooler, because they did have 10 coolers, those were going to be the items that really were used to keep things safe to use when you're going out on an excursion. Now, if you like this video, please click like. That way it helps other people find it. You'll be doing them a favor, and we really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my free monthly newsletter. It's in the description box below. I put a historical article on there with pictures and things, and I always let you know what's going on in the outdoor community as far as traditional camping, classic camp crafting goes. I also would love to invite you to join our Camp Crafters Guild. You can check it out for 5 free days. If you really like nerding out on the historical side of camp crafting, that's the place to go, because there's lots of people on there who practice it, who collect it, who like talking about it. We have a tremendously large and valuable library on there if you really like digging into, well, books and catalogs and things like that. So again, it's in the description box below. You can always join by www.honorableoutfitters.com/join the guild. Honorableoutfitters.com is my website. I hope to see you guys at least on one of those things, and I appreciate everything that you guys do for the camping community. If you'd like to see my video playlist on all these different items, then check it out here. Give a kiss out to your loved ones, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.